when it was time. Meet Marjo Davidson, author of My Life is on Hold, One Family's Struggle with Terminal Illness. Thank you for joining us, Marjo.
Thank you.
This is always so tough with any family. 5 years ago, your mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Yes, she was.
What did you do?
Well, after we knew what the doctor recommended as treatment, Mother started through the treatments, and about midway, she developed pneumonia, and her request and wishes was to be taken home, if all else fails, to be with loved ones and die with dignity at home and not in a hospital. So we took Mother home after she developed the pneumonia.
She was starting to fail.
Yes, she was. Yes. And so for 2 months, my brother, my two sisters, and I individually, at periods of time, took care of her. About the middle of January, we were called and told that Mother's condition had worsened.
When did you realize that your mother was close to death?
Well, actually, when we got the call on Sunday that she had stopped eating and drinking on Friday, we knew that time was near. And for the next 5 days, Mother was in and out. She knew who we were, she didn't know who we were. But on Thursday morning, early in the morning, we knew the condition was deteriorating fast. And we were all standing at the foot of the bed, and her eyes opened, and we knew she knew who we were. And we were yelling, you know, I love you, I love you. And from her little mouth came mumbling, I love you too. And we knew what she was saying to us, and then her eyes shortly after closed, and just shortly after that I went over to her with a stethoscope and was listening to her heart, and all of a sudden it stopped. And I just started screaming, her heart has stopped. And my brother and two sisters were crying and screaming and grabbing any part of Mother's body they could latch onto. And this went on for several minutes. And then all of a sudden, just above the screams and the cry, a big sigh. I stepped back. James and Carol and Pat stepped back, and this woman, she was breathing again.
She came back to life?
She came back.
From all the shaking of the children?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was back.
Well, when we come back, we'll find out what happened when Marjo and her family shook her mother back to life. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Other Side. Today we're exploring the power of love, specifically the lengths some people will go to stay with a loved one, even after death. With us now is Marjo Davidson and her sister, Pat Bolton. Marjo, this is amazing. When you realized that you had literally shaken your mother back to life, tell us how you felt.
Well, I'll tell you what, I felt guilty. I felt guilty because this wonderful soul was free, and free of pain, free of this world.
Tell us what happened later that day, Pat.
Well, it was about, we all kind of felt guilty about this. So we decided that the next time she was going to go, we were going to let her go. So we all joined hands, and we said a prayer, you know, that we knew she loved us, she knew we loved her, we didn't want her in pain, and the next time, God take her. And so then about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Marjo was standing at the foot of the bed, and she said, I don't know whether y'all are going to believe this or not, because you might think I'm crazy, but I feel I've got to say this. I see Mother's spirit. It's about 6 inches above her.
Lying in the same position, Marjo? What were you seeing?
Yes, well, actually moving back and forth from left to right, and then quickly going just about 6 inches above her body. Yes.
Did, you know, we've seen that recreated in film and television. Is that sort of what it looks like? Almost like a spiritual replica of the body?
You got that right. That's exactly right.
Did you feel this too, Pat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, I didn't see it at first. After Mary had said, Marjo had said that, she said, Pat, it's coming towards you, it's behind you. I looked behind, I didn't see anything. She said, it's in your chest. I looked down, I didn't see anything. I didn't disbelieve her, but I didn't know what she was seeing, and so in my mind, without saying, I kept saying, what is she seeing? What is she seeing? I turned, and then I seen this misty gray haze over Mother's body. And then I turned to see my mother's face, and it was pouring out of her mouth, and it was pouring out of her nostrils and going into this.
And before that, during this period of time, where there was a wall, a ceiling and corner, all of a sudden, it's as though I'm looking into infinite depth. There is light shooting out everywhere, crystal clear light, gold rays, shooting in all directions just above a center place, above my mother's body. And like Pat said, when all of a sudden I saw the spirit, it just soared off the bed in a flash of a second. I mean, it was just like that, and darted behind Pat, and I yelled, "It's behind you, Pat!" And then I said, "Oh no, it's in your chest." And what I saw was the most beautiful face. Dark eyes, dark nose, triangular mouth, piercing eyes looking at me, and this face was in a most perfect square with the whitest background. And I knew that the spirit was looking at me and talking to me.
After I'd seen this coming out of Mother's face, out of her mouth and her nostril, I seen it raising up in like a set-up position, and all that was at her feet went up into this set-up position, and through this cloud of mist came my mother, and she was young, and I remember looking at her, and I remember it came out of my mouth. This time I didn't have it just in my head. I heard the words. I said, "Wings." And then I thought, what did I just say? And then I looked at her real close, and the wings were so visible, you could see the feathers in them, and she floated down like in a white trail, like a gown coming at you, and there was just so much happened that day.
There were things that Carol, my sister, saw, that Pat saw, that I saw. And then there were some things that they saw that I didn't see. But I tell you one thing, Will, we knew that we had been to the other side with our mother.
You have the drawing. Show us a drawing.
And we're not artists. But this is a picture that I saw. Very, very crude, but it's a face, and it's in a square. And that's what my sister Pat saw.
So you were just doing this not to sort of do an artist rendition, but to sort of prove, all right, this is what I saw, something like this, and then to compare it with the others. That's what the purpose of this was.
Right.
Well, Will, this went on. We know what time span we were in, the other side, in and out. And it started at 5 o'clock, and it ended, a situation happened at 11:45 that night. And yet, this room has no light overhead, but the things that we were seeing what I was seeing was all lit up, as if I'm viewing a stage.
Yeah.
And all these things are happening.
And the end of the story is that Mom died.
Yeah.
She died.
She passed.
Well, she passed away the next day.
The next day.
About 6:30.
What has this done to your sense of holding on versus letting her go, that you had this experience? You know what I'm asking?
Now that I know what we've seen, I wished we hadn't have stopped her at the very beginning. I wish she could have just gone.
But I'm glad we saw what we saw.
I'm thankful, and I'll always thank the Lord for showing us what He did.
Yes.